The phone buzzed on the nightstand, slicing through the silence of our bedroom like a knife. I was half asleep, my mind still foggy from the weight of the day, but the timestamp made my blood run cold. 4:03 a.m. I groaned, reaching for it, expecting perhaps a wrong number or a routine spam message. But what I saw made me freeze, heart hammering against my ribs. It was her, my wife. And she wasn't at home. The photo sent via an unknown number was unmistakable. The neon glow of a motel sign reflected in the rain-slicked windows. Inside, through the partially drawn curtains, was a figure I recognized instantly, her. And beside her, a man whose face I didn't need to know to feel every ounce of betrayal. I stared at the screen, unable to breathe, unable to think. The room around me felt suffocating, the walls closing in. The photo was taken at 4 a.m., the timestamp burned into the corner of the image. My stomach churned, bile rising at the thought that this had been happening while I slept just a few feet away. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run. I wanted to wake her gently and ask why, but the truth in that image made every possibility impossible. I was trembling, gripping the phone so hard I thought I'd crush it. And then I heard the front door click. The lock turned. My heart sank before she even stepped into the apartment. She walked in casually, carrying the groceries I had asked her to pick up. Her hair was slightly damp from the drizzle outside. She smiled at me, that familiar, comfortable smile that now felt like a cruel joke. "Hey," she said softly, placing the bags on the counter. "Sorry I'm late." The store was crowded and I couldn't let her finish. I couldn't speak. The photo burned in my mind like acid. Who were you with?" I finally croaked, voice barely above a whisper, but my tone sharp with accusation. Her smile faltered, confusion knitting her brow. "What are you talking about?" I showed her the phone, the image of her leaning too intimately against that man. The neon motel sign glowed behind her, mocking me. Her eyes widened, flickering between shock and something darker. I can explain," she stammered, but even her voice betrayed hesitation. I felt my chest tighten, tears threatening to spill. "Explain? How do you explain this?" 4 a.m. a motel, another man. Explain that. She stepped back, suddenly cautious, like a deer caught in headlights. "It's not what it looks like," she said, but I didn't believe her. Every instinct, every feeling I'd ever had screamed otherwise. I remembered the small signs I had ignored, the late nights at work, the distant gazes, the sudden secrecy with her phone. I had trusted her. I had believed in us. And now, that trust lay shattered, scattered across the floor like glass I'd inevitably cut myself on. "I don't want explanations," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "I don't want apologies. I want my life back." Her lips trembled. "Please, just listen." "No," I shouted louder than I intended. The sound echoed through the small apartment, bouncing off the walls, exposing every fragile piece of the life we'd built. I can't hear it. Not from you. Not now. Not ever." I backed away, my mind whirling. Everything I had taken for granted, every quiet Sunday morning, every smile, every late-night conversation, it was all a lie. And the realization cut deeper than anything I had ever known. She tried to reach for my arm, and I recoiled. Her eyes filled with tears, and for a moment I thought I might relent, might let the past week, month, maybe years slide by if she just begged enough. But the image in my phone was burned into my memory, searing, undeniable. "I trusted you," I said, my voice breaking now. "I trusted you more than myself. And you destroyed that. All of it." Her sobs were quiet, but they filled the room, a haunting echo of the life we once had. "I never meant, it was a mistake," she whispered, almost too softly to hear. I shook my head. "A mistake." I laughed bitterly, the sound hollow. "A mistake is forgetting to pick up milk. A mistake isn't sneaking into a motel at 4 a.m. with someone else." She dropped to her knees, head bowed, the groceries spilling across the floor, forgotten. "Please don't leave me," she pleaded. "I'll do anything. I'll fix it." I swear it meant nothing. You have to believe me. But I didn't. Couldn't. The belief was gone, replaced by a cold, sharp certainty. Every tender moment, every word of love, every promise now rang hollow, empty, a cruel charade. I walked to the bedroom, not looking back. My hands shook as I packed a bag. Clothes, essentials, anything that could give me some semblance of control. She tried to stop me, crying, begging, but I moved mechanically, as if my body was acting without me. By the time I was ready, the apartment was thick with silence, broken only by her quiet sobs. I didn't look at her when I walked out. I didn't say goodbye. There was nothing left to say. The night air hit me as I stepped outside. It was cold, but it didn't matter. Nothing mattered. My heart was fractured, my trust stolen, my world rewritten in a single photograph. I drove aimlessly, no destination in mind, trying to process the betrayal, the shock, the suffocating sense of loss. Memories flashed unbidden. Her laugh echoing in the kitchen, the way she had always tucked her hair behind her ear, the soft brush of her hand against mine in the quiet moments before sleep. And with each memory came the bitter sting. It had all been a lie. By dawn, I found myself on a deserted overlook, the city beneath me slowly waking. I sat in the car, staring at the horizon, tears streaming freely now. The betrayal wasn't just a moment. It was a fracture, a rupture that would never heal. Somewhere inside, a part of me wanted to call her, to scream, to demand some shred of honesty, some shred of love that hadn't already been ripped away. But I knew. I already knew the truth. Love could not survive this. Not after what I had seen, not after what she had done. I sent her a final message, simple, resolute. I'm done. This is the end. No plea, no question. Just finality. Hours later, I returned to an empty apartment. She had gone. The groceries lay scattered on the counter. The room smelled faintly of her perfume, a cruel reminder of the intimacy that had once filled these walls. I closed the door behind me, the click echoing like a sentence being passed. In that silence, I realized the hardest truth. The person I had loved, trusted, and shared my life with was no longer the person I thought I knew. And perhaps, in some cruel twist, she never had been. I sat down on the couch, exhausted, hollow, and let the tears come. Not just for her betrayal, but for the death of the life I had imagined, the life I had hoped we'd grow old into. That life was gone, shattered in a single, devastating photo. And in the quiet aftermath, I understood something I hadn't before. Love, no matter how deep, could not survive deception. Trust, once broken, could not be reclaimed. And some wounds, inflicted not by violence but by betrayal, cut deeper than any blade ever could. I stayed there until the sun rose fully, painting the apartment in a cruel, golden light. Outside, the world carried on as if nothing had happened. Inside, I carried the weight of a love that had ended not with words, not with a fight, but with a photograph at 4 a.m. I didn't know what the future held, or if I could ever trust again. But I knew one thing with painful certainty. My heart, broken though it was, would survive. I would survive. And in the silence of that dawn, amidst the wreckage of what once was, I began to take the first tentative steps toward a life rebuilt from the ashes of betrayal.